This afternoon, we'd like to thank you for joining us for the Zachary Candidate Forum. Part of our mission in servicing our community is helping our constituents or our community become politically aware of what's going on and then becoming involved. So each year or each election season, we set out to host a candidates forum. This year we've done something a little different. We've invited the Power Coalition to join with us in our annual candidates forum. And so we invited all the candidates in the Zachary area. And so our goal and mission is to inform constituents about all of the individuals that are involved in the election process. Some of our constituents, all of our candidates are not here tonight, but they were all invited to the forum. We ask that you please, audience, if you have any questions, one of us will come to you to give you an opportunity to ask those questions and pose them to the candidates. We have two moderators with us here tonight, Dr. Tiffany Franklin and Ms. Angele Jenkins. And so they will be moderating the forum this afternoon. I'd like to introduce to you, before we move forward, our Power Coalition team partners. So if you'll come forward, please.
Hey y'all, Caitlin Joshua with the Power Coalition for Equity and Justice. I serve as a South Louisiana organizer. Had a pleasure of meeting quite a few of y'all at your doors when we were canvassing last week, so super excited to embark on tonight's forum with y'all.
I'll just echo those sentiments. Gino McLaughlin, I'm statewide organizing director with Power Coalition for Equity and Justice. We're happy to be partnering with the women of Delta Sigma Theta. We'll be doing a lot of voter registration alongside them, also tackling issues around redistricting and all the other issues that kind of happen to pop up throughout the year. And so this is also important, and so we're happy to have you guys come out and join in this very informative candidate forum and ready to kick this thing off.
I just want to remind you that early voting starts on tomorrow. So please, please, please put voting in your schedule. The early voting season is from tomorrow, October 25th through November the 1st, and voting is on November the 8th. You'll hear that several times throughout the night. We just want to put that in your ear so you can put voting in your schedule. We will be broadcasting live on Facebook Live. So if you want to share that information with anyone that you know that's not here tonight, please go to the Baker Zachary Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta's Facebook page, and then you can watch tonight's forum live. And I'm gonna turn it over to our moderators at this time.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Angele Jenkins, and I'm joined by Tiffany Franklin, and I have the pleasure of serving as your moderator, or we have the pleasure of serving as your moderators for this evening. Today we are joined by some of the candidates who are running for city judge, for school board, Zachary City Council, mayor of Zachary, and chief of police. All candidates were invited, and the following candidates confirmed their attendance. City Judge, we have David, I'm going to mispronounce your name, so excuse me, David Conakin, thank you. John Hopewell, L.T. Dupree, Gaynell Young for School Board, Alicia Lathan, School Board, Natasha Hayes, it helps if I put my phone down, Crystal London, School Board. Also for school board, we have Nicole Giroux and Laura Freeman and Andrew Gaines. Okay, thank you. For city council, we have Lael Montgomery, Frida Morris, Brandy Westmoreland, okay, who is not here, my apologies, Mindy Slaughter, Sharon Turner, Tequila Jones, and John LeBlanc. For mayor, we have Francis Naziana and Laura O'Brien. And for chief of police, we have Darrell Lawrence, Justin Neville, and Robert Williams III. We want to thank all of our candidates for joining us this evening. The way we will go forward is each candidate will have 1 minute to introduce yourself. We will call you up based upon the races you'll join us here at the table. We do know that there are more than 4 candidates available in some areas, so we'll pull up chairs at that point. But we would like you to be up front and center so everyone can see who you are. But we'll call you up. You'll have 1 minute to introduce yourself, and then we'll go into a few questions after that. And at that point, we'll give you 2 minutes to answer each question. Okay? Thank you. Is there any candidate who is in here whose name that I did not call who responded? Aha. Thank you. That was Cynthia Bentley from School Board. And?
James Gray, City Council, District 4.
Okay, James Gray, City Council, District 4. Jordan Watkins, School Board, District 5. Thank you. Okay, so as I mentioned, you'll get 1 minute to introduce yourselves, and then we will have a few questions. We have lots of candidates tonight, so we'll try to get to at least 2, maybe 3 questions. We will be taking questions from the audience as well. So those of you in the audience, if you have questions, have them ready. We'll go around so that we can ask the questions. We will have a timer that will go off about 45 seconds, a minute and 45 seconds into your response, so you can start to wrap it up, okay? And with that, we will begin with our city judge candidates. So if our city judge candidates can join us up here at the desk. While they are coming up, we would like to remind everyone again that Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is a 501c7 nonprofit organization. All candidates running for mayor, chief of police, city court judge, city council, and school board for the city of Zachary were invited to participate. The sorority is nonpartisan and does not endorse candidates. Thank you. So if I can have each of you introduce yourselves. 1 minute, tell us a little bit about yourself and anything you'd like us to know about your campaign.
I want to thank the Group Power Coalition and Delta Sigma Theta for asking me to participate. My name is John Hopewell. I am, of course, running for Zachary City Court Judge. I've been a resident of Zachary for 41 years. I've practiced law for 31 years. I've been in private practice for 31 years. In addition to that, I've served as the city attorney for the last 12 years, and 3 years prior to that, I was the acting city attorney. I have been married for 41 years. I live next door to my grandchildren, who they and their parents attended Zachary schools. I don't want to have voters lose sight of the forest with the trees. Everybody sitting up here is qualified and experienced. Mr. Connican is the city prosecutor. I recommended him for that job. Mr. Dupuy is the assistant city prosecutor and the assistant city attorney. I hired him for that job. I'm the city attorney. I have represented the Fire and Police Municipal Civil Service Board, the ABC Board. I've been a member of the Baton Rouge Bar for 31 years. I've been a participant of the Lawyer Referral Service, Pro Bono Project, Ask a Lawyer Foundation. I've represented the Zachary Police Department. I've acted as the city prosecutor when the former prosecutor could not be in court. I have been a member of the Zachary Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. I was on the Home Rule Charter Commission when we rewrote the charter. I have been a past member and a continuing member of the Zachary Kiwanis Club. I was its charter president, and I served on its board for a number of years. Like my opponents, none of them have been judged, but I think
Good evening.
You would need a mic.
My name is L.T. Dupre. I am also running for Zachary City Court Judge. I've lived in Zachary for 25 years. I was told by someone who found out I was coming tonight that I needed to make sure that I rep the Jaguar Nation. I am a member of the Jaguar Nation. I've got a master's degree from Southern University when I was a teacher and coach in St. Francisville at West Feliciana High School. I believe, the only candidate in this race that is a veteran of the United States military. I've lived in Zachary for 25 years. My wife and I have raised our kids here. I've served, as Mr. Hopewell said, as the assistant city attorney and the assistant city prosecutor for these last few years. I have had a civil and criminal practice right here in Zachary for 17 years. No other candidate practices both civil and criminal law right here in Zachary at all, much less for the last 17 years. I am asking for your vote. I'm asking for your consideration, okay, because I am
How's my minute started? Good afternoon, I'm David Connick, and I am running for Zachary City Court Judge. I want to thank the two organizers who have put this on, Delta Sigma Theta and the Power Coalition, for allowing us to come here. It is 100% my fault that we're going first and we're the guinea pigs, because I have a deposition of an orthopedist in Baton Rouge at 7:30, and so y'all were so kind as to allow us to do this first. Because of that, I'm a practicing attorney. I have experience in court with two different types of cases that matter in Zachary City Court: criminal, personal injury. That's what I do. I've made over 1,000 appearances in criminal court as a criminal defense attorney. Because of that experience, because of the fact that I've practiced in front of over 40 criminal court judges, I was hired to be the city prosecutor. Of the 400 to 500 cases, the summons that have been issued by Zachary PD, I've personally handled all of them, but 6 or 8. Of the close to 200 convictions in Zachary City,
You keep the mic, and then we'll start with you and we'll come down. So one of the questions that we have, and audience, again, feel free if you have questions. I will field one question at this point, and then after the 3 candidates respond to this question, I will open it up to the floor, okay? So you have 2 minutes to respond, and the first question is, what do you see as the primary role of the judge in the administration of justice? And do you believe that there should be alternative measures other than mass incarceration?
great question. I think the first thing that we need to discuss is what Zachary City Court judge does. Zachary City Court is a court of limited jurisdiction. So every misdemeanor that occurs in the city limits of Zachary that's issued by a Zachary Police Department officer comes to me as a city prosecutor. I handle those cases. Those cases then go before the judge. That's what we do. We don't handle felonies. The largest sentence that an individual can get in Zachary City Court is 6 months. That's the extent of it. Reality is, the jails are full. If I sentence somebody to jail, they're not going to go to jail. They're going to be released. That is the fact of the matter. That's not the judge's fault. That's not the sheriff's fault. It's overcrowding in the court system. The role of justice, number one, fairness. Number one is fairness. Everybody that walks into court for a criminal matter needs to be treated exactly the same. And as the Zachary City prosecutor for the last 20 months, I've made sure that that has happened. Judge Miles has made sure that that has happened. We had a conversation about the pretrial diversion program years ago, year and a half ago, when we were changing things in court with the pretrial diversion program. I made an observation to the judge. I said, we need to change the way that we do things in court. The vast majority of minorities will not respond to a letter sent to them by the city prosecutor's office. White defendants, black defendants were being treated differently because we weren't allowing them to enter the pretrial intervention program after they made their arraignment appearance. I changed that. Judge Miles and I changed that so that we could level the playing field for everyone. The role of justice, number one, is fairness. Number two, you need to have your day in court. You should not be discouraged.
With regards to the question and the answer given by Mr. Connick on jail overcrowding and mass incarceration, I completely echo his sentiments. He is absolutely right on that front. With regards to my my position on what a judge is supposed to do and how is he supposed to do it. It's without a doubt to be firm but fair in the administration of justice. A good friend of mine, Tony Clayton is the district attorney for Iberville, West Baton Rouge, and Point-Combe parishes. He is, unlike myself, not a Republican. He's a Democrat. And he says, and I'll quote in his endorsement of me, "A good judge is firm but fair. L.T. Dupre is both of those. He is the only candidate with 17 years of civil and criminal experience right in Zachary. So he has the knowledge to get the job done. I know LT, and I know he will be a great judge for all of Zachary." Just so you know, you can't see, the word "all" is highlighted in that. And that's very important. I grew up in Opelousas. I've been a public school teacher. I've raised my family in Zachary. It is important to represent all of Zachary, because, to be quite honest, in my walking around the city, I've seen two Zacharys. Many of you have seen two Zacharys. And many people don't understand that there are. My job as a human being is to bring those two parts together. My job as a judge is to treat them exactly the same under the eyes of the law. Thank you.
Thank you.
Folks, I'm going to sit down if you don't mind, if you can hear me. I had foot surgery a few months back, and if I stand for a while, my foot goes numb. But having said that, let me address the role of the court. The role of the Zachary City Court is maybe, for lack of a better word, more simplistic than, say, the district court. But the elements are essentially the same. The court, this court, without a jury, gets first to decide the facts, interpret the law, apply the law to the facts that were determined, and essentially then decide the outcome. In a criminal prosecution, obviously deciding the outcome is whether or not the person is guilty, and then what punishment would come as a result of that. But I think that the court, to do that, has to be, both of my opponents mentioned fairness. Fairness is certainly one of the things that you have to look at, but I think that you have to look at it more from an impartiality perspective as opposed to a fairness perspective. Anybody that appears in that court, whether it's civil or criminal, ought to have the same equal footing. There needs to be the required impartiality. I think the administration of justice requires nothing less. With regard to mass incarceration, I absolutely think that is not the way to go. It's been proven. If you look at statistics nationwide, incarceration isn't the fix. There has to be, and there will be, and there should be alternative methods of addressing criminal violations. Now, whether that's public service, whether that's community service, whether there are pretrial diversion programs that ought to be in place to keep that person from being in the position to begin with, really is for the court to decide. But the focus at this point is from a Zachary City Court perspective at the misdemeanor level, not any emphasis or focus on mass incorporation.
Perfect timing. Okay, do we have any questions from the audience? We'll only have enough time to take one question. Does anyone have a question for the candidates for city judge? Okay, if not, thank you. And at this moment, we will have the candidates for school board to join us up front. Okay. All of you. So we'll have the same format where you all can introduce yourself over 1 minute. And probably because we have so many, we may just take a question from the audience versus us having a canned question. So if you can, please start.
Hear me? Okay. Just want to first thank Delta Sigma Theta sorority for hosting this event. It's a wonderful event to get the community out to find out about all the candidates. My name is Andrew Gaines. I'm running for Zachary Community School Board District 7. A lifelong resident of Zachary, born and raised here. brought my family back here to raise. I've been married to my wife, Abby, for 17 years. We have 2 kids. I have a freshman in high school and a 6th grader at Coppin Elementary. I'm a business owner here in Zachary, a CPA, local CPA, helping the community with that. So I'm just here humbly asking for support for District 7.
Good evening. First, I'd like to apologize for my voice, dealing with some laryngitis here. But I am Dr. Alicia Lathan, a lifelong resident of Zachary, Louisiana. That'd be 52 years. And so I am an assistant professor of professional practice at Louisiana State University, where I recruit and train teachers on a daily basis. I'm committed to children, committed to educational excellence, and committed to our community. I believe in education. That's what I do on a daily basis. I love what I do. My mom, a retired teacher of 52 years, once told me, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And so I absolutely love what I do. And so I want to continue doing that for all children, especially our children here in Zachary Community Schools. So I ask that you would consider me for District 6 as I'm asking to be re-elected to this position. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Jalro, and although I didn't grow up in Zachary, my husband and I made this our permanent home 14 years ago. It's where we bought our first house together, where we brought home both of our children who attend schools here in Zachary. One of the important reasons of me running is for my children. I think that when you have a personal investment, such as your children being in school, it makes your decisions more careful. And so I want to represent not only my children, but everyone's children. I ask for your support for District 6.
Good evening. My name is Laura Freeman, and I am a longtime resident of Zachary. Not from here, my husband is. We have 2 beautiful daughters, which we've raised through the school district for the past lots of years. We also bought our first house here, so that's cool. I have a long-standing work in the school system. I've volunteered. I've also worked here in the city. I have been a member of the Alcohol Beverage Commission Control Board for over 10 years. Currently serve as a commissioner for the planning and zoning. And one thing I also want to do is really make our city work together. It's not just about the city or the schools, but we all need to work together. And that's one thing I want to bring to the school system and just try to get everyone working together. So I do ask for your support for District 5. Yes, and thank you.
Good evening. I'm going to stand with my notes to keep me in that 1-minute marker. Good evening. I'm Dr. Crystal London. I stand before you as Zachary Community School Board member elect for District 8. I'm excited about this opportunity to reintroduce myself to you. My husband Keith, our 3 children, and I have been members of the Zachary community for 10 years. I spent 10 of those years in Zachary schools, at Zachary Elementary, as a teacher. While there, I also gained perspective as a parent, as a community member, and an educational researcher. It's these perspectives that I bring to this position. I have about 20 years of experience in private and public school and nonprofit. As a teacher, educational leader, and researcher within Zachary, I've had the privilege of serving approximately 4,000 students and their families. Many of your kids may recognize me as Senora Mitchell or Senora London.
Hello, my name is Natasha Hayes, and I am running for District 7 School Board Office. I am a teacher currently. I've been teaching for the past 15 years. I have a master's in education because children are pretty much, what I do. The education is my life. I've dedicated my entire life to that. I have my husband and my son. We moved here in a house like 9 years ago. So I do not have a legacy in Zachary. However, every legacy starts with that first person. So I plan on being that first person. I had a principal a few years ago who told us, throughout your day, set your alarm and check to make sure. Set your alarm, make sure your alarm says, are you doing what's best for children? So throughout my day, every 30 minutes to an hour, my alarm goes off, and I want to make sure that I'm doing what's best for children. If not, you stop and you reset. So what I would like to do for Zachary is to continue that legacy through Zachary and making sure that I'm doing what's best for your children and our children in the Zachary community. So I ask for your support in running for District 7.
Hi, everyone. First off, I would say thank you for inviting us to this forum and putting this together. My name is Cynthia Bentley, and I am running for School District 2, number 79 on the ballot. I am a mother, I am a wife, and I am a grandmother of our 3 children that graduate from Zachary. So I'm not a politician. I'm a mother that cares about children, and so that's my perspective that I bring into the school board. In addition, I do work in higher ed. I've worked in higher ed for over 15 years. I understand education. I'm passionate about education. I also understand the needs that our children need based on what I see in higher ed and what's currently lacking at our school district and some of the great things that we are currently doing. I would like to work together with the city. I think our school district is the backbone of our community, and I want to continue to build upon that so that we can make it even stronger. And I humbly ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to Delta and Power Coalition. As I stand and introduce myself, let me set the foundation. Most of all, what I want you to remember about me is that I'm a child of God. Secondly, that I heard a calling to be a public servant. And for 20 plus years, I heard that calling and I answered and said, here am I, send me. And I have been on that journey in the Zachary public school system, Zachary community school system, for 20 years. I'm also on the Lane Regional Medical Board of Commissioners, where I serve as chairwoman of the commission. And I've been on that board since 2011. So public service is in my blood. It was in my parents' blood. And I want to continue to serve this district, District 1. My vision for District 1 is that all children will succeed. And so please vote for number 76, Gaynell Young. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm a little nervous, so bear with me. I'll first want to say thank you to the distinguished ladies of Del Baker chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. Thank you for hosting this event this evening. I'm humbled to be here. I am Jordan Kareem Watkins. I am running for Zachary School Board District 5. My family has called Zachary home for 6 generations. I was born in Zachary. I went to Zachary High, graduated, and I'm currently living in Zachary now. Zachary is my home. Some people may feel that 25 is too young to run for school board, but I believe I'm right on time. I chose to be a candidate because my age, my experience, and my diversity are my strengths. I am blessed, I am honored to have this opportunity to represent my school district. Raising the bar high, teaching our students well, and expecting greatness. That is my goal, and I want to be sure that I make you guys happy. So vote for Jordan. I appreciate it.
You survived. Okay, so thanks to all of the candidates at this moment. Again, I will remind you that Delta Sigma Theta Sorority is a 501c7 nonprofit organization, and we are nonpartisan and do not endorse any of the candidates. So at this time, I would like to open up to the floor for a question. You can ask a specific candidate, or you can ask the candidates within your district. Do we have any questions from the floor? Okay, don't be shy. I saw your hand first, so I'll go first.
Can it be 2 questions in one? My question is, do you have school-age children and do they attend Zachary schools?
Is that for all the candidates? Okay, so all candidates.
Nope, I'm 25. My brother and sister both went to Zachary High. So yeah.
I'll see it. I don't have children in the school system now, but I had 2 children that graduated from Zachary schools. They went to schools from elementary on up through graduation, as well as myself. I'm a graduate of Zachary.
I'll stand, and me and my husband have 3 children that graduated from Zachary. Our youngest just graduated last year, but now we are raising our grandchildren, and they are kindergartners in the school district. So yes.
I have one son. He's in high school now. He actually goes to school with me because, I teach in West Feliciana Parish. So he travels with me to school for convenience. But I do have, of course, friends, neighbors, and family who all attend Zachary schools.
I have 3 children, ages 10, 7, and 5. They all attend Zachary schools.
I have 2 children. One is at Copper Mill. She's in 6th grade. One is a senior this year. She actually did transfer out this year because it was not the perfect situation. And although I love Zachary to death, you only have one chance to educate your children. So if there is a better situation, sometimes you have to look at that. So, but I also have friends, neighbors, and lots of people I can draw upon.
My 2 children, I have one that goes to Copper Mill Elementary in 5th grade, and I have a kindergartner. I have really enjoyed immersing myself within the school system, whether that's volunteering in the schools or attending community events within the schools. I think that that's so important in order for you to have a pulse on exactly what is going on in our school systems, both good and bad.
Well, I'm so glad I finally get to answer this question. So, I do have 2 children. My oldest is a junior at Prairie View in Prairie View, Texas. My daughter is a senior in high school. She does not attend Zachary schools, but I want everyone to know why. Over 10 years ago, my children were moved from Zachary schools because I work at Louisiana State University. It was a convenience thing, similar to what my counterpart here is saying about her child going to school with her. And just to make a long story really short, my daughter suffered, and any mom in here, any parent understands, my daughter suffered from big time nosebleeds, really bad nosebleeds. And so I'm just going to tell it to you as it's real. I was on 2 wheels trying to get back to Zachary sometimes to take care of my little one, to get her. The nurse would call, and it was just really difficult. But on top of that, I'll take it even further. Because I was working so far, my parents were still working, everybody was still working. And so on at least 2 occasions, I came home with my oldest, and he was hidden in the back of my husband's truck because First Student had dropped him off and left him at the house without anyone being there. And so as a mom, I had to make a decision that my kids, I had to take care of them. But this is, mind you, this is over 10 years ago. And so my children have progressed and continued, and I've only served on the board for the last 2 years, but my heart is in Zachary. I'm deeply rooted in Zachary. My children have attended Zachary school, of course, before they even moved. I have nieces, I have nephews. I'll go even further. The property where Zachary High sits on right now, my grandparents, their home sat there. And so deeply rooted in this community, love Zachary, very invested. I have trained teachers. Many of the teachers who walk the halls of Zachary schools have come under my guidance, like through training through Louisiana State University. So I'm deeply invested in this community.
Yes, I have 2 kids. I have a 9th grader and a 6th grader, both here at one at Zachary High, one at Copper Mill. I am also a graduate of Zachary High. I have 4 brothers who graduated from Zachary High, and many family members that graduated from Zachary schools.
Thank you. I will take one more question from the floor. However, I will ask for the sake of time if you want to address the candidates specifically from your district. Well, just tell them where you live and they should know this, right? They're running for you. So let's see what we got here.
Hey, my name is Andrea Graves, District 8. So my question to you is anyone running against you? Okay. Okay, unopposed. So I guess my question didn't apply. Well, my question was for the people running that one has children in the school board and one does not, why would me as a parent want to vote for someone that does not have children in the school board system? Why would I want to vote for someone that doesn't have it compared to someone that does as a parent?
I would answer that by saying because it's all about education. It's all about making sure that children receive access, that they get everything that they need. It's not about me. It's about the children. And I think sometimes we miss that because we're so busy looking, and I guess I could even flip that, honestly, because sometimes when you have children, you're so concerned and the focus is on your children that it's almost like you're serving your own self-interest. So I would say that I'm the kind of person, and as an educator, what you have to understand about educators is we work with children. Our passion is children. And so I would say I would want somebody that's going to stand up, somebody that's going to speak out, somebody that's going to listen, and then somebody that's going to hear me. Because I can listen, but I may not hear you. So I want somebody that's going to listen to me, they're going to hear me, and they're going to work with me. And I'm going to know that they're genuine and that they're all about business. That they don't have a problem if you call me at 9 o'clock at night and say, hey, can you help me out? Because that's what I do. Because I believe when you think about diversity, when you think about all of the issues, the teacher shortages, all the things that school systems are facing right now, I understand that. I see it every day. And so when you think about those things, diversity and so forth, then we have to understand too that diversity doesn't always equate to inclusion. So that means that we have to have people in places that understand this whole dynamic called education. And so it's tough. Education is a difficult field. And so I think sitting at the table, knowing what's happening in the field, understanding it, being able to have the conversations with those at the school board and speak up and speak out on behalf of teachers, on behalf of students, on behalf of parents, because I've sat in all of those shoes. So for me, that would be great in my.
Do we have another respondent to that question on the panel?
Again, Natasha Hayes, District 7. I can respond to that question just because, of course, my child does not attend Zachary schools. However, I am an educator, been an educator for 15 years. I see multiple classes. I'm not just a classroom teacher. I see every single child in my entire school building. So I am responsible for every single child. So I can look at this group of kids, and I'm not just focused on this child, I'm focused on all children, so I can see things objectively. When I go into, I have experience in the school system, so if I'm making school board decisions and they're talking about specific classroom interests, I know those things. I know the difference between IEPs and 504s. So when we're sitting there having conversations, and I've written those, I've worked with children that have those, I know the difference between those things. No one has to come and explain to me. I don't have to go look it up and research it. I have real life experience and I see those things happening. Teachers are first responders. So when children and parents come, they come to you first. They tell you about things that are happening at home, things that are happening, they trust you because you build these relationships. So teachers have in-depth knowledge, basically of all things that are going on in the school system. So although I don't work, my child, doesn't attend Zachary schools, I have a deeper understanding of children and their needs.
I'll answer that question too. Although I do have grandchildren that I'm raising that's in the school district, I will say for me as a parent, I've been thinking about running for a while, but my daughter wanted to graduate first. Because if anybody is in here that works at a school, probably see me up at the school a lot because I am the voice. And I'm truly passionate about education. So for me, had I not been raising my grandchildren, one reason I would still want your vote if I didn't have kids in the school is to say, one, I care about everybody's child. I want your child to succeed just like I want my child to succeed. And I think that I can offer valuable resources having worked in higher education and I can bring down to our school district that will help our children become more successful and better people. I think we have to look at the children as a whole. They're a person first, they're a student second. And I think that that's something I want to bring to our school district.
And I will add just quickly that from the perspective that we are all citizens of Zachary, we all have a vested interest in the school system succeeding. Not having someone in the school system now does not take away from my ability to serve the constituents in my district. The experience that I've gained over the years, I guarantee you, if a constituent calls, I answer. most of the time, I have a good answer for them. But if I don't, I know what to do. I know to refer them to administration. We have a motto that we take every child as they come to us. So it takes all types of people to be able to run our school system and run it effectively. So I think it's important to have a diverse group on the school board. Thank you for your question.
Thank you all so much for your questions and your responses. So I want to thank our panelists for answering the questions. We do not have enough time for another question. However, I do want to remind you all in the audience that you all will be sticking around. So if you all had a burning question that we just absolutely did not have time for, grab them at the reception table and ask that question. All right? So thank you all so much again, and I am going to call up our Zachary City Council. You all to give that 1 minute introduction. That 1 minute. Now let me remind you all, we are not the ones cutting off the mic. We are the ones running the timer. Okay? So I will begin with you, sir, Mr. Graves. Okay.
All right. I got 30 seconds now?
We're going to go ahead and give you a full minute.
All right.
1 minute.
Good evening, everybody. Thank y'all for allowing us to come here and share our experience and everything. My name is James Graves, running for City Council District 4. My wife is here tonight. We have 2 children. I'd like to thank my wife as well. She has been the bedrock of my success and helping me along this journey. We've been together 16 years, 2 children, Julia and Jace. Julia is 12 years old. Jace is 7 years old. I grew up in a family business here in Zachary, still running today, a very successful business. And then I went out in 2010 and started my own local business, James's Barbershop. I am a member of St. John the Baptist Catholic Church, Knights of Columbus, the Zachary Chamber of Commerce. I'm a community activist for the underserved in our community. I'm also my hobbies, avid outdoorsman, hunter, fisher, spend my time outside with the kids, the AFL-CIO, and
Greetings. My name is Tequila Jones. I'm running for Zachary City Council District 5. I've been in public service, and some of my great leaders that sitting out there can attest since I've been the young tender age of 11. Public service is all pretty much that I know. I am a graduate of Zachary. I'm a native of Zachary. I went on to attain a Bachelor's of Theology and Religious Studies and Communications and Public Relations. Also, I hold some memberships in Leadership Success and the Golden Key Honor Society. My main basis for joining this race is the main question everyone asks: who asked you to join? Trust me, this is beyond me. The call to me being this race is higher than me, because all the things that I have witnessed, trust me, God, I wouldn't have stayed within it. And that is, for me, to add to that, it's to bridge the things that are spiritually that have been broken, and then we can focus totally upon those things that are carnal to bridge those things together. I ask for your support on November 8th, early voting starts tomorrow. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sharon Turner. I've been in Zachary for 40 years. I'm married to my high school sweetheart, John Turner Jr. I have 3 daughters, 14 grandchildren, and 5 great-grandchildren. Praise the Lord. I'm also a founder of Child's Play Academy. I think that's why my children had so many children. Also, I'm a member of Abundant Life Christian Center. I'm on the praise team, and I'm an intercessory prayer. I'm on the intercessory prayer team. Also, through my entrepreneurship, I have produced lawyers, ministers, aspiring politicians, and many others that are productive in the community. I also am a member of Together Baton Rouge, Together Louisiana.
Good afternoon. I want to thank God first. I want to thank the Power Coalition. I want to thank the Delta. I want to thank the wonderful citizens of Zachary for taking the time out your precious, beautiful day to come here. My name is Lyle Montgomery, number 154 on your ballot. I am the current councilman. I'm running for re-election because I have a lot of stuff that I know that we need to get done. For all the residents that live around Rollins Road, we need to put some attention on Rollins Road. We need to pay attention to Rollins Road. I have a track record of getting things done. I've been listening to the citizens. Y'all been saying y'all don't have nowhere to shop. Y'all don't have no entertainment. Y'all stand in traffic lines for hours, from Raising Cane's to that light.
Thank you so much, Mr. Montgomery.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank Delta Sigma Theta and the Power Coalition. My name is Frida Morris, and I'm excited about being here this evening. I'm running for Zachary City Council District 1. After much prayer, I decided to run for City Council office in District 1. I'm a widow. I'm the mother of 3 adult children and 5 grandkids, soon to be 6, right about 2 weeks from now. My late husband, Ernest, and I pastored a local church here in Zachary for over 35 years, positively impacting the people of Zachary. I want to run for office to continue this service to Zachary. I'm a transplant. I moved here. My husband's home is Zachary. 42 years I've been here. I call Zachary home. I'm vested in this community. I have an MBA in finance. I'd like to be our numbers person on the council to make sure and to ensure fiscal responsibility so that we're not in the news talking about issuing jobs without contracts.
Okay, I'm John LeBlanc. I am a Zachary City Councilman. I represent District 2, and I am currently Mayor Pro Tem. I am a retired Baton Rouge fire captain, EMT, and I'm also a Navy veteran. I did not intentionally get into this to be a councilman. I started advocating for the city of Zachary, the citizens of Zachary in 2018 to try to get something done about speeding in the neighborhoods. And after going to so many council meetings, a spot came open, and I prayed about it, talked to my wife, felt like the Lord led me to do this, and boom, here I am. A lot of people say that a councilman's job is not important. I beg to differ. I feel like I am the liaison between the citizen and the government, where you do not have to go through all the problems and the headaches.
Thank you all so much for your introductions. I want to remind you all again that Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is a 501c7 organization. All candidates running for office were invited to attend today's forum. The sorority is nonpartisan and does not endorse candidates. The first question that I will pose to our running city council members: what do you believe are the primary functions and duties of council members to being accountable towards their constituents? Absolutely.
I believe our duties as a councilman, we're a legislative branch. I think we are responsible for all of the city's money and how it's spent, and making wise decisions on what we should do and what we shouldn't do. The council, we have limits to what we can do. Have a lot of people saying, why don't you do this, why don't you do that? But so many things that we just can't do. We just don't have the power to do. So the other thing is, look into the future. We have to look into the future, see what's the best for the city as a whole, not just our district, but what's best for the city as a whole. And as a councilman, like I said before, you know, you are that liaison between the citizens and the government. And I know myself, I ran on the slogan the first time, and I do this time. I am your full-time councilman. And me being retired from the Baton Rouge Fire Department since 2018, I have the luxury, you could say, to respond to my constituents and my district. And I think if you live in my district and if you have ever had any dealings with me, you know that I am Johnny on the spot. I come out and I look at your problem. I'll take pictures. I will send them to who they're supposed to go to. I follow up on these things. I stay in contact with my constituents. I ride through my district probably at least once or twice every week. I look at things. I look at things that need to be taken care of. I have been very transparent. I have encouraged my constituents and others to call me if they want to ask me any question.
Okay. Someone answered earlier. I think we are the liaison between citizens and government. And it is our job to ensure, right now, there's a lot of noise about stop the growth in Zachary. I'm not an advocate for that. Anything that's not growing is dying. I believe in smart growth. What we need to do is we have to ensure that we have the infrastructure in place to support the growth that we have now. You can't have subdivisions with 100 homes in it and you've got a 2-lane street leading in and out of there. I've spoken with folks in my district who say, Ms. Morris, my kid is at Copper Mill, and I can't tell you, I'm late for work every day because guess what? I can't get out. And guess what the excuse is, Ms. Morris? It's a state highway. Okay, well, it's a state highway. There are other things that we can do to ensure that parents get out to get to work. So I believe our job is to represent our constituents, but do what's best for the city of Zachary. Because I have Zachary at heart. I'm, like I said, a resident of 42 years. And I would love to be on the council, to be that person, to be that voice, to be outspoken about the things that are best for the city and for the people. I'm sorry, people and businesses in Zachary. Thank you.
When I think of government, I think of transparency. And if anybody know me, y'all know that I'm transparent. Now, one thing about Zachary that I know, we have traffic problems. We have problems where to go shop at, where to go to restaurants at. We don't have that. Our infrastructure needs to catch up with the population. And it's only one way to do that. I have a lot of people in my district. Every time it rains, I get phone calls about flooding, like we can get a downpour and downtown Zachary will be flooded. I was in the Navy. We didn't wait till the ship went out to sea to make sure the ship was ready for war. We prepared the ship way before it went out to sea. So in treating that, I'll treat Zachary just like it was a ship, right? So you have hurricane season is from June to November, right? Why do we wait to clean our ditches and our ravines out in June? Now, under my leadership, if y'all re-elect me this time, I want to work with the next administration, and I want to make sure that we divide the city into quadrants, north, south, east, west. And each month, or every 2 months, we go in each section of the city and we make sure that the water is flowing right? So by June, we won't be rushing to get hurricane ready. The biggest threat in our city is not crime, it's flooding, it's drainage. Our roads, like Ms. Frida said, they cannot accommodate.
I believe as a city council member, we need to make sure that the established laws on our books are up to date. If they're not, we need to go back, revamp them, and improve them. Also, as a city council member, as I was getting ready to come this night, I too on Highway 64, I couldn't get out. I really had to do what I see teenagers doing and pull out and zoom because the cars coming from both ways and there is absolutely no way to get out on Highway 64. And I was in a residential subdivision trying to turn out on 64, not far from our high school. So what do our kids do if they're driving? Also, as a city council member, we need to learn to listen. And not only listen, but find resolution to what it is that our constituents are bringing to us. For many years, my husband and I have gone to the city council meetings with no resolution to what it is we're trying to get accomplished in our neighborhoods. We have a lot, our city is growing in leaps and bounds. There's a lot of growing pains. We as a local body must grow along with our city and bring resolution to those things that are coming up as our city grows. We need to remember core values, which is family first. With family first, we need more sidewalks, ladies and gentlemen. We have a lot of senior citizens that are baby boomers that are now at home and retired. No sidewalks. In Little Farms, we have no sidewalks and deep ditches. That is not acceptable. Also, safety. We need safety for our children.
The first thing I would like to touch bases on, being that I am an educator, is all great educators will know the theory of Piaget. Children learn through play. We have recreational things already in place, but it's just basically the things up on the park. When dark falls, what are families supposed to do then? Are we supposed to go back into our homes and sit there, be bored, and get up on game systems? So we need to focus upon that. The main thing that we need to focus on to build the respect, trust, honesty, cultural competence with our citizens and with our constituents and our local government officials, we need to educate our citizens upon the UDC, the Unified Development Code. Because what the issues I've been seeing within the council meetings, we have citizens that are coming before the councils, like Mr. LeBlanc said, it's things that's out of their reach. So if we educate our citizens upon that, it won't be tension between the council and it won't be tension between the citizens. Because you would know what they're bringing forth, it's matter of fact, it's factual, it's black and white. All the other things as well, strategic planning with the residential areas. And the thing that I've done research upon is the drainage system. I also found that I'm not a great architect or engineer or anything with that, but I read up on the drainage system called the French drainage system, and they use it in foreign countries. Maybe we can get our engineers within this city to focus upon that, and that will help with the flooding. And also, let's persevere, let's focus and save our wetlands, because that's what's going to help us with the flooding within our city. Second of all, with the constituents, we need, first of all, respect for the individual. Cultural competence. Your way of thinking is not my way of thinking. A guy in Japan is not going to think the way that I think as an American. So if we have cultural competences in place, everything will run smoothly. Thank you.
May I ask the exact question again? What was the question?
Okay, so the question was, what do you believe are the primary functions and duties of council members to being accountable towards their constituents?
Okay, all right. Excuse me, y'all, I'm a little nervous. This is my first time running. I'm not a politician, but as we've been out talking with the constituents of District 4, our main issues is, like what a lot of members say, is drainage. That's our main concern, is drainage. Of course, the 2016 flood, it flooded about 3/4 of our district. So one of the big things is keeping in touch with the Comeet River Diversion Canal and making sure that all our bayous, canals, ditches are able to flow in there properly. And, holding the city, the government, the public works, go through the proper channels to make sure they're responsible for, cleaning those ditches. When we talk to a lot of people, they say that, okay, that's East Baton Rouge. They say we go to the mayor. No one goes to their councilman. They go to the mayor's office, and then maybe the mayor's office puts them off, and then they put them off to East Baton Rouge. That's their problem. And they say that's Zachary's problem. So they get the runaround. So being accountable to your constituents is not only, giving them a call back, letting them know, that this is something we can do, this is something we can do. And that's what I would like to see as a representative. And one of the reasons why I'm running is, to see things get done, and not procrastinate on different issues. There's a lot of other things, along with city council, working with the police chief, working with the fire department. There's so many different things. The buzzer's probably going to go off on me real quick, but I can't. Don't have enough time to sit here and talk about all the different issues. Of course, traffic. That's the number one thing. I live on Plank Road. I've been living on Plank Road almost my whole life. So I know about the traffic issues and all those type of things. What are we going to do? Our newly formed traffic study lady that just came into the city of Zachary, we can use her and put her to work on doing many different traffic studies.
Okay, thank you to all the candidates. Do we have any questions from the floor?
I'm a candidate, but I have a question. My question is, I live in District 1, and that is outside of the Zachary city limits. Where we sit today, Americana is outside of the Zachary city limits. So we are unable to cast a vote for sheriff, for mayor, for, chief of police, for city council. So my question is, when you are reelected, or if you're reelected to go back to the council, or your first time serving, would you ever consider looking at the area that is in the Zachary school system, but outside of the Zachary city limits, to annex those parts into the city of Zachary? That is a question that I get as a school board representative in District 1, so this is the perfect time for me to put that question on the floor. Thank you. And stop cherry picking the areas that you think are the affluent areas.
I'd like to answer that from my perspective, because that would be one of the main things that I'm Sharon Turner from District 4, and I believe that all the outlying subdivisions need to be a part of Zachary. Number one, our school system has a budget of 61 plus million. Our city has a budget of 16 million. Look at the difference between those numbers. The taxpayers outside the district, outside our city limits, are bringing all this money into the school system, which is a great thing. But at the same time, look where our city is. 16 million. We can actually, if we annex a lot of these subdivisions in, we bring more revenue to the city. The city right now has to get funds that are divided between all the other cities that are a part of the parish, because that tax money is actually going to the parish and then being split up and given to our city. So I do believe that it would be a good idea for us as a city, because we are growing and we need to look at annexing these subdivisions in, because right now they are really a part of the city because they're doing business here in the city. And if we want to bring more businesses in, nepotism has to go, transparency must be a part of our growth, and also these outlying subdivisions.
When it comes to annexation, like as far as a council member, we can't just say, okay, let's bring in your neighborhood. What has to happen is someone from your neighborhood have to file the annexation paperwork, and then it goes from there. So with that being said, y'all remember when they tried to bring the big Trevento house, and they didn't try to do it, they did it. Because it's like Zachary, I know y'all look at the council members when y'all see all these houses, all these homes, but sometimes those are zone of influences, which means Baton Rouge will come in, like we'll deny it. Like the whole council will be like, no, we don't want this neighborhood here. And then the zone of influence will allow them to do it. But they do it because they're in our school district. So I know when y'all see like homes, like all the homes that are in the school district are not in the city limit. So that's kind of why we put up that big fuss about Trevento. If y'all remember me, John, Brandon, all us went to Baton Rouge because they was gonna come and bring like 2,500 people to our schools. You know, they was like, we're in the zone of influence, it's for the schools, but it affects the city. Now, Zachary don't get no money for roads, we don't get no money for flooding and drainage. All those tax dollars go to the school board. So we still left with, if you got 2,500 new homes, at least 2 vehicles apiece. That's 5,000 vehicles. You know, so a lot of that has to do with citizens, and as council, we try to protect that, but sometimes it gets hard due to the zone of influences for that.
Your time is up. I have to be honest, guys, I'm not that familiar with the zone of influence. Again, remember, my background is it's not government. I never, ever thought that I would, on my bucket list, would be running for political office. But I am doing so. Somebody said, well, why are you saying that, Frida? Because I believe in being honest. You know, when you don't know something, there's no shame in not knowing. The shame is not going and getting help, okay? So, but however, as Ms. Turner said, I think we need to review all of these things and see why is it that and somebody told me that. They said, hey, I'm sorry, I can't vote. I'm like, you can't vote? They're like, no, we don't get to vote for our city council. I'm like, I don't understand that. My map says you're in my district and you can vote. You know, so there are a lot of things to be learned here, and I'm all for transparency, and I believe that if you are in the city of Zachary, that there's no reason why we can't revisit why some places cannot be annexed in. And I'm not saying that the city council has that authority to do that, but I am saying revisit.
I know after Councilman Montgomery and myself and Councilwoman O'Brien and several other of us fought against the Trevento subdivision, I came back and put it on the agenda for a discussion on moratoriums and annexation. And I know our city judge, Mr. John Hopewell, he explained about annexations and moratoriums, and there are several different types of moratoriums, not just one kind. To be honest with you, I'd be very open on a moratorium so we could kind of take a deep breath, take a rest, and look and see what our infrastructure's like, catch up on that. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Annexation, I was told, and I think Mr. Montgomery remembers the night that we went over that, is annexation, when you take over, when you annex something, you actually have to have the resources also for those annexations. You have to have police department, you have to have more police, you have to have more fire department personnel, you have to have more public works. So all of those things come into play with that also. So it is a difficult situation. It's not one that's impossible. I hope that whoever gets to be on the council this time and whoever is in the new administration, I hope and I pray that we can sit down and put our heads together and come up with a solution to this, because we can't do it. Every problem has a solution. Just get everybody together to work it out.
Yeah, because you guys haven't responded, if you want to, you can. You don't have to, but it's up to you.
Well, I think, just my personal opinion, that annexation would help to place focus and to also execute with strategic planning. Being that we do have an issue with flooding, there won't be any new development going on. We can bridge in the pre-existing development. And also, a lot of citizens, I'm going to be honest with you, Mr. Gaynor, I went through my community, the Portland community, I'm not going to say a name, and I actually brought that up, and the first thing I was saying was, are you crazy? We don't want those high taxes where we living at. But it was just the truth of the matter. But when you think deep into depth in it.
A question that came in online, but I'll field a question from the floor prior to that. Okay. If there's no question, one that was emailed in to us was, what are your plans for bringing new businesses to Zachary so that some of our tax dollars can remain in the city, not just small shops that close as soon as they open?
All righty, let's fire it up. Let's start it off. All right, James Graves. I spoke with I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce here in Zachary and have a small business. Like I said, I grew up in a small business as well. And, I believe the more we've been out talking with people, figuring out what Zachary could use as business, before we had an economic development committee. I think now that's dwindled down to 1 or 2 people on that committee. And starting an economic development committee, several council members, several city members, and also several chamber members all come together and form a committee and go out to other cities that are very successful in their residential commercial rate, where the businesses that we have, because Zachary, as far as, a man finding a nice shirt, I got a funeral tomorrow, somewhere to go, there's not many places for retail. I have to go to Baton Rouge, Baker, or outside of Zachary. Zachary needs to be a one-stop destination for everything. We have the people, we have the surrounding cities and towns that come and shop in Zachary. We have the support, entertainment issues, social venues, entertainment as far as the family. There's not many places we can take our family out to Zachary. I believe we have the land, the people, and we need to figure out how we can get investors to Zachary to grow our business, and we can spend our tax dollars here in Zachary. Our tax dollars need to stay here. That way, it also, those tax dollars for sales tax, I believe, correct me, will go to our city, which would also help our police department, which also help our fire department, our city services, our drainage, the guys that dig our ditches, all that.
So the question is, what are your plans for bringing new businesses to Zachary so that some of our tax dollars can remain in the city, not just small shops that close as soon as they open?
I believe in having, as you can say, with the citizens and with the council, with the government, having an open door policy, having an open line of communication, being able to listen, to understand, and not to respond. People that have different things, their likes. So taking those things into consideration and bridging our minds together, and not just because one person comes forward and say, hey, I like hot dogs, and just putting a hot dog stand there, and when you look at it, you only have about 50% of the people that's actually going there. So I would say just having an analyst done, and before we put those things into place, so that it won't be an epic fail, because these are things that we have been seeing constantly over and over again within our city. So having that in place, and having a small trial and error. I mean, it is just the truth of the basis of it. Once again, like I said, I'm not too familiar with the things as far as it goes with the bylaws and the unified, development code, like what's actually in place, like in Hearst to force those things. But I think that's just the main thing, knowing what it is that our citizens want, because we are representation of our citizens. So just having that in place, and that would help us to kind of get together and put our minds together. Just teamwork. That's what it would take, teamwork.
What we need to do to bring new business to Zachary, once again, transparency. The local government needs to have transparency. Our citizens need to know what's going on with the local government. We need to have a marketing plan, group to come in to do marketing for our city. And we need advertisement. I've seen New Roads on, do ads on television about their lakes and stuff. So we need to do more marketing for the city of Zachary. Also, strategic planning. We can use LSU students and Southern students. I'm sure their instructors would love a business project for them to do, and we can bring them into Zachary, and we need to have bids and contracts that are available to businesses. They don't know about our bids and contracts. That's where nepotism came in, because people locally were not being told of the opportunities that they had for projects and stuff that was going on in the city of Zachary. So we need more open bids and contracts, and that would draw businesses to be a part of the city of Zachary, and we would be able to keep our children home because they would have affordable housing, they would have jobs, and we could do our local shopping and everything right here and would not have to go out of the city of Zachary.
I'm gonna tell y'all the reason why we don't have a lot of businesses in Zachary right now is for the last 8 to 12 years, this administration that we have now, they have not had an economic development person that has been hired on duty. According to our home rule charter, we have to have somebody go out, a team to go out and pitch for businesses. We haven't had that in the last 8 to 10 years. So with that being said, with the new administration, whoever it may be that's coming in, I think that once they get on board and we get an economic development team, we can go and we can pitch for a Jubilee Crossing. We can pitch for a software company to come in. Cause y'all remember when GP gave us that scare? Like, we're economically dependent upon one major income, and that's GP. I think it's time that Zachary start opening our eyes, and it's time that we start moving towards more tech, more Microsoft, Google, all that. Our kids are way more advanced than we think they are. It's time for us to give them the opportunities in Zachary. My ideal Zachary is a Zachary that if I work in Baton Rouge, I don't have to go to Baton Rouge until if I leave Baton Rouge Friday, I don't have to go to Baton Rouge till Monday to go back to work. See, it's a lot of stuff that are not available because of the administration that's in place. So I'm looking forward to this next administration. Me, John, Laura, Francis, Bruce, all of us been working together to get stuff.
As I said earlier, I think it's very important for us to focus on infrastructure. You can't attract businesses if you don't have the resources to maintain them. And if we focus, Zachary does, on its infrastructure, let's get our infrastructure straight. Our cities, our water systems, our plumbing, and whatever else. Because in some areas, folks are telling me they're having problems with, their plumbing. The water flow is slow or it's whatever. But I think it's important that we focus on our infrastructure. And I think also, as Lyle said, I'm sorry, Mr. Montgomery, that it's important to make sure that we have the right personnel to advertise, go and sell Zachary. But we can't sell Zachary until we know that Zachary can sustain itself. So infrastructure is important, but I also think we need the resources. We need people who can go out and actually sell Zachary to the rest of the city, the state, and the nation. But anyway, so let's focus on infrastructure first. Thank you.
I'm with Councilman Montgomery on this one. We hired, well, this was before my time, but we do have a company that was hired out of, I believe, Birmingham, Alabama. So as of probably about 3 months ago, I guess we had paid them up to around $275,000, and their deal was to bring business into Zachary, and they've only brought 3 businesses into Zachary. That's not good. We're not getting our money's worth out of that. Economic and Development Board, that's what we need. It is in the Zachary City Charter. We need to get residents to sit on that board, which it should be comprised of. And my theory is this: who knows Zachary better than the residents that live here? Who knows what the people in Zachary need better than the people who live here? And who's going to have more passion to go out and drum up business to bring to Zachary than the people who live here? And Ms. Morris, she was just talking about infrastructure. One of the things that we need a full-time public works director. The one that we had retired about 2 years ago. We have not filled that. We have not filled that seat. Zachary is not some little podunk town. We are a thriving city, and with thriving cities, we need to have these professionals on our staff. So we need a public works director full time. And I just wanted to say one thing before I go. And even if I get cut off, I'm going to have to finish, because it's something that I think a lot of you are not aware of. And I hear a lot of this, and part of it's in my district, part of it maybe in your district. It's Rollins Road. So I want to let everybody know that for the last over 2 years, before I was even elected, I was trying to.
Thank you so much for your response. I apologize, but in an effort to be fair across the board, we have to move forward. Thank you all so much for your responses this evening. Thank you. And Justin Neville. So I've just been asked to make the announcement that there are refreshments on the table. Just to keep things moving forward, feel free to make your way to the refreshment table as the forum continues. If you could, please do so respectfully, we ask so. Thank you so much.
Ready to start? I want to
Introduction.
My name is Darrell Lawrence. I'm a 33-year veteran of the Zachary Police Department. The last 11 of those years, I spent as your Assistant Chief of Police. I'm a graduate of Zachary High School. I graduated May 22nd, 1980. May 24th, 1980, I was walking off a plane in San Diego, California, Pension Marine Corps boot camp. I came to work at Zachary in 1989, April of 89, as a volunteer police officer. I was hired full-time October 10th. 1989. I've been a full-time instructor at the Zachary Police Department. I noticed that we didn't have continuing education, so I volunteered for that position myself. So I've been the lead instructor for Zachary Police Department for the last 25 years. I've also taught in academies across the country, taught police officers in different cities and different states. Oh, you need me to?
Thank you so much. Mr. Williams.
Excuse me.
Good
for a
afternoon.
moment. Excuse me. Candidates, remember to hold it up because the people who are online, they can't hear you even if you have a loud voice that projects. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Williams. I am in my 19th year of law enforcement. I'm a man of God, and I'm a man that loves God's people. I love law enforcement. I'm also in the school, transportation. I'm a business owner, and I am a pastor, and I am a friend of yours.
Good afternoon. My name is Justin Nevels, candidate for Chief of Police for the city of Zachary. I'm 41 years old. My wife and I, Alexia, have been married for 23 years. We have 3 wonderful children, Michaela, Grayson, and Jackson, and we also have 1 grandchild together. I have been in law enforcement for 22 years. I began my career at the young age of 19. In those 22 years, I have been the chief of police for the village of Norwood. I've been the assistant chief at Clinton Police Department, St. Francisville Police Department, as well as the Norwood Police Department. So I do have administrative background in law enforcement. I have spent the last 9 years of my 14 years with the Zachary Police Department and the Zachary Community School District as a school resource officer. Leaving that position was by far the hardest thing that I've ever had to do.
Thank you all so much for your introductions. I'll ask the first question. How do you plan to assure that your police force is properly trained in key areas when it comes to interactions with the public in areas such as mental health, domestic situations, profiling, etc.?
You know, the law doesn't change. The law is the law, and one thing I know, you can't make right wrong, and you can't make wrong right. The first thing that we should do is make sure that our officers are properly trained, make sure that they have the training and the assessment that they need to go out and serve our people. We will hold them accountable for their actions. I believe, and as now, that every officer should have a body camera, that whatever's going on between you and the other person, that everyone can see what's going on. So therefore, when they come back, it's not he say, she say, we will be very transparent. So, you know, once they go out and interact with the call that they're on, that they have the proper training and that they're doing what is in the policy for as domestic. The law is already set. So when you go out onto a domestic call, you assess the area. You assess what's going on, and then you follow protocol that's already set. And may I say this, protocol is not just for one person. Protocol is for everybody. The law is for everybody and not just certain people.
Okay, I'm gonna have to say that our officers receive 40 hours of training in dealing with people with mental illness. Now, do I believe that's enough? No. I think we need to have continuing education on how to deal with those people with mental health problems. I also think that we need to bring in experts, social workers who from the secular side, from the religious side, to help us work with those people. Now, we don't want to turn that responsibility over strictly to those social workers, because if something happens out there, then who's going to be responsible for what actually happened? So we want to bring those people in to work with us to help with our mentally ill people. As far as our training, I've been in training for years. I am big on that. We have trained our guys in cultural sensitivity. We've trained our guys, again, in mental health situations. We've trained our guys in the body camera procedures. We also, like Mr. Williams said, we do have body cameras. I was instrumental in helping that program get there because I wanted to be able to, when our citizens came up and they had a problem, I wanted to be able to pull that footage and let's go through that footage and see what actually happened. We'll see if there's any violations of policies, see if there's any violations of procedures. So we are being transparent in that sense. We also want to keep our officers trained as far as our biases. We have, everybody in here has a bias, but the problem is, or not the problem, but the solution is is to try to put that bias aside when you're dealing with someone out there. Everybody that we deal with is not a criminal, and they don't deserve to be treated that way when we make traffic stops. I also need you to understand that traffic stops are a very dangerous situation for our guys. They don't know you, and you don't know them. So that is a dangerous situation when we're out there dealing with them. I need for my public to understand that,
Let me say this. Working in the school system for the past 9 years, I have become very close, and I have learned to understand our youth. And I believe that our biggest area that we need improvement is in our youth. We have, let me say, perception is reality. Whenever you watch something on television and you are being fed this constantly, that is your reality. So there is a gap between law enforcement and our youth, mainly our African American males. We need to bridge that gap. We need to work together. We need our law enforcement and our youth to see that we can work together. We should love one another. We should respect one another. I honestly believe that working with our other elected officials, working with our pastors and our activists and things of that nature, working within the school system, actually getting out, getting to know our youth as law enforcement, we can build those gaps. We can bridge those gaps. I had an incident, I hate to take it here, but I had an incident while working in the school one day to where during the hands up, don't shoot movement, I had a young black male that walked past me and he put his hands up and he said, "Hands up, don't shoot." And I called him over and I said, "Let me ask you something." I said, "Have I ever disrespected you?" He said, "No, I haven't." I said, "In the same token, I need you to respect me the same that I respect you." If we can just come together and communicate and see that we are one people, then I honestly believe that we could be a better city and that we can do great things within this community.
Do we have any questions from the floor for our candidates for Chief of Police? We have one in the back.
Good evening. Would you be in support of creating a traffic division, and what would your plan be to see that implemented, if so?
Yes, I would be in favor of a traffic division, but what we have to understand is that we work shorthanded right now. So if I pull people off of shift and direct them strictly to traffic, then that makes my shift short. That makes when you call or somebody else calls, then I have less people to answer those calls. Am I in favor of a traffic division? Yes. But we have to be able to hire and recruit people to replace those people that we're going to put in traffic. Traffic is a bad situation here. We understand that. What we can do to try to combat some of that is we are totally reactive when it comes to traffic. We build subdivisions, we build all of these different subdivisions around. That puts traffic on the road. So now, for every house, you look at 2 cars. So we have more traffic. Now we do have guys that are out there working traffic. We're lucky enough with our city put together a program to pay extra officers to come out on their days off to write tickets. And they actually do. You'll be surprised how many tickets we do get in here, how many repeat offenders that we get on our traffic program. But when you ask that question, yes, I would be in favor, but we have to figure out a way to get some more people hired to actually to replace those people that we're putting in specialized divisions.
To piggyback off of what Mr. Lawrence said, that would not be a question. That would be one of my number 2 goals. That would be my second thing to get done is to create a traffic division. This city needs a traffic division, and we will hire more people and put more boots on the ground, and that traffic division will become a reality. You need it, Zachary wants it, and you will get it. Bottom line. Not only will you get a traffic division, but you will also get dispatchers. Zachary does not have dispatchers. East Baton Rouge Parish, dispatchers for Zachary. Zachary have the ability, smart people that can do the same thing East Baton Rouge Parish do. You would get your dispatchers and you would get your traffic division.
I absolutely agree we need a traffic division, but I have to kind of piggyback off of both of them. I think that our communications division would be the first and foremost. During this campaign, I have spoken with numerous people, have received numerous calls and texts asking what the number was to dispatch. Simply because whenever they call, they don't get an answer. Whenever they call 911, they're not receiving an answer. That's an issue. I think that is number one paramount before a traffic division. But in order to do that, we have got to have the city support us and increase our budget in order to be able to hire this personnel. As Assistant Chief Lawrence said, we have got to have manpower before we can pull them. We've had a traffic division before, but what they did was they pulled one person from each shift. So instead of working with 5 per shift, now you're working with 4. We are already stretched thin. We can't get any thinner. We have got to start growing with our city, and we have got to add more law enforcement officers.
Candidates, thank you so much for your responses. Again, you are reminded that the candidates will be available after we end the next session, which will be with our candidates for mayor. Thank you. A minute to introduce yourselves, and then we will begin with questions from the audience. So audience, please prepare your questions.
Is this on? Okay. Good evening, I'm Laura O'Brien. I'm a current City Councilwoman for District 3. I've been serving 2 terms. I am married, my husband's in the back, Lance O'Brien, and we have 4 children, 2 at LSU, excuse me, my throat's really dry. 2 at LSU, 1 at the high school, and 1 at the middle school. I ran all my campaigns on healthy growth, transparency, and I love being outside, so I feel like everyone should be out walking trails, connectivity to different areas. I feel like our city has so much potential, so I hope you vote 127, Laura O'Brien for mayor.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Francis Nizianya. I am married to Lady Marie. She's an educator at Zachary Community School System. I am a successful business owner here in Zachary for over 28 years. I've been on the city council for the past 16 years and served as mayor pro tem 4 different times. I have had the opportunity to serve with 3 different mayors. Very well experienced, worked with them. First one was when I was chamber board president. I worked with former mayor Charlene Smith. We bridged the gap. I introduced a program where we bridged the gap between the business community and the city because people were complaining about information for development. Then I had the opportunity of working with former Mayor Henry Martinez. When we took office, there was no development plan, there was no master plan in the city. We put a moratorium in place, which was a very, very hard decision to do. However, after 1 year, we lifted the moratorium, and we came up with a master plan and development code.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions from the audience for the candidates?
Hi there, my name is Erin Hibbert, and we've heard a lot about transparency, smart growth, traffic. I think it all starts with the planning and zoning meetings and just that transparency in those meetings. If you're elected, what's your commitment to allocating money in the next budget to get those planning and zoning meetings either streamed or recorded and shared so that more people can come or be involved and be aware? Because life's busy and we always, we can't run down and watch the meeting in person. So what's your commitment to that?
So I will start with, we used to have economic development director. Let me address that in-house. However, being a chamber board member, past board member, and current member, the chamber does not have the budget to hire economic development director in the city. That's where the city comes into play to help hire economic development director. And I plan to do that. I plan to hire in-house economic development director in the city. Secondly, about our streets. I know that most of the time when people ask questions, we say, okay, it's a parish road, it's a state highway. However, our citizens don't want to hear that. I make a proposal. After we took over Highway 64, okay, I made a proposal to the current mayor that we need to start thinking about asking the East Baton Rouge Parish for us to take over the parish roads. And recently we adopted and sent a resolution to the East Baton Rouge Parish to Western Mayor President, asking them that we want to consider taking over all those parish roads.
You were asking about planning and zoning, correctly? Okay, so I know we visited that with the Planning and Zoning Commission. It is up to them whether they want to be televised. I think most of them did not, but if it's a matter of putting it in the council budget, we could probably get that in there as long as the people that run our meetings agrees to do theirs. Or we started ours on an iPhone, so I think some of the things that you may be addressing was transparency and knowing where our city is going with the vision. I plan on taking our new administration either away for the weekend or have a committee or something here to where we all meet and actually go through the UDC, because I don't think everyone knows what's going on. I know John came to a meeting and made very big decisions on his very first meeting and didn't even have the UDC in his hands. The same thing with planning and zoning. They get appointed when someone rolls off, but it could be a Monday night, you're sitting up there making a decision, and I don't think that's fair for that person. So I think as a city, we're gonna go away, take a look at the UDC and make sure everyone's on the same page. Because subdivisions come, we don't understand all the rules, so we just go ahead and give them waivers. And so all the rules that we had in place are gone. So that's one of the things I'd like to implement as mayor.
Thank you. Do we have another question from the floor?
My name is Dr. Jordan Bellanor, and I live in Rosewood Plantation. So if you think you'll have a hard time getting out of Copper Mill, just head north. Okay, and I have been in contact with traffic engineer, trying to see if we could get the speed reduced. I've also contacted the Popeyes, okay, because we have a problem with the traffic blocking, and some of you, if you see a little short lady with gray hair, that's me taking pictures. And I'm sending those pictures to Popeyes, to the regional office in Lafayette, because we're trying to get some type of resolution. Also, we're faced with the Palisade Apartments. You can't get out at certain times. We have the credit union across the highway, even though you're supposed to turn right. A lot of people are turning left. Someone created a situation where you have to turn left into the Popeyes, and also you turn left into our subdivision. So in other words, there's a lot going on in that particular area. And if we're never annexed into the city of Zachary, who is going to help us remedy some of the problems? Because I have contacted a lot of people, even Department of Transportation, about possibly putting a pork chop. You can't put a roundabout because there's not a lot of land in that particular area. So it is a nightmare. You can't turn south out of any of those subdivisions onto 964. And my neighbors wait until the right time to get out of the subdivision. So I should not have to put my life on hold because of traffic, okay? So the question is, who is going to assist us with having a good quality of life in that particular area?
So you said you lived in Rosewood? Yes.
Yes.
So we have that's my district. I have called DOTD many times, so we did get the upgrade right there. It probably wasn't a good solution, but it did help a tiny bit. I always feel like we should be proactive instead of reactive. I know that the state did get a grant to put lights on 964, so we've been asking for that road to be 4 lanes. Keep asking, keep asking. So I'm trying to get them to go ahead and to widen that road before we put the lights up, because then they're going to put the lights up and say, oh, well, we can't make the road double because we'll just put the lights up. So I think just continuing to call. I also feel like maybe redirecting traffic in a sense. I know that we're getting some big development over near Americana, so hopefully people will stay off of 964. We can't plan on everybody being off, but maybe some people will go straight instead of going this way. Maybe afternoon traffic can go 61 and take a right on East Mount Pleasant. There are options, and I hate to say we're handicapped to the state, but we are. I mean, I just think we need some people that are loud and keep calling. I call all the time. I called Popeyes. I sent them what Cane's has in their parking lot, and it looks like they tried to do that now, but I don't know how long you've been calling, but I've been calling and emailing about 8 months. So that's how long it took to get them to get to a resolution. But if we don't call and we don't speak up, then nothing happens. I'm willing to be the squeaky wheel.
But I want to know, instead of the citizens having to do all of the individual calling also, will that be coordinated by the mayor's office? Because I'm just hearing, that you call, but who's going to speak on our behalf and coordinate instead of an individual doing this or another subdivision doing that? We need to know exactly, what's going on. It needs to be coordinated by someone in the mayor's office, because I've called several times and I keep getting the same response. Oh, that's a state highway. It's nothing we could do, but I'm paying taxes. So how much energy and time do I have to spend, calling? So will someone actually be an advocate for the people who live on 964?
I understand what you're saying, and a lot of the building south of where you're talking about is not in Zachary city limits. It's in a zone of influence, and we all went. All city council went. We had one school board member go and fight it. Unfortunately, I think we all have to go fight something. We can't just leave it up to the mayor or a city council person to call. I'll keep calling. I don't mind doing that, but I think when you come out in numbers, they start paying attention. And at DOTD, I have a contact there. I actually see him here at the Y. I'm the district executive here. I see him all the time, and he knows. He's like, oh, Lord, what do you want? I'm like, well, I want something on 964. That's why we got those lines painted. We talked to him enough every morning on the treadmill that he knew he better get something done. But I think it's an effort where we're almost handicapped. I mean, we have the parish that continues to pour stuff onto us, and the state doesn't want to listen. I mean, we can keep calling and keep going over there. I think that's the best way to do it. Our tax dollars are at work in a little bit, in a paint can on the ground, but we're a state that did not plan for infrastructure. So I hope our city can do differently in the future.
Okay, in response to your question, I have called Papa's head office several times, but I have not been able to talk to the right person, and they yet to return my call. Also, I have also called the DOTD office, and I have invited our state senator, Regina Barrow, to come and look at the situation. Okay. Few years ago, she came down here when 964 was restricted. However, there's a communication breakdown between our legislative branch, state legislative branch, and the Department of, the DOTD department, because she did not know, she was not aware of what was going on in Zachary. They restricted the 964 without her knowing what is going on, and we took her over there, myself and Mayor Amrai, and showed her what was happening. I believe that it's time that we will get our law enforcement, our police department to get involved with the traffic situation over there on 964 by bypass, because a lot of times, like she said, most people they live in the subdivision rules, subdivision, they cannot get out. So I think it's time, although we need the revenue, however, we don't want to continue to impede on the quality of life. They can get out because of customers going to bypass. So I think it's about time our police officers get out there and start directing traffic and let the people know, the customers know that you cannot just hold the traffic out there.
So I would like to thank the candidates for responding. This is the conclusion of our forum. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Gino McLaughlin of the Power Coalition for Equity and Justice for a few words and announcements.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for showing up for yourselves, speaking up, asking all the wonderful questions that you did. Also, thank you to all the prospective candidates. There's a lot going on this election season, right? I like to tell people, notwithstanding the holiday season, election season is the most important time of the year. So, like I said, it's great to see you guys come out. A couple things that I do want to remind you that early voting does start tomorrow. So make sure you guys go out and early vote. Also remind your friends and family members that that's coming. Obviously, Election Day is November 8th. Notwithstanding all the things that we did talk about, all the different positions that are specific to Zachary, I also want you guys to think about the Public Service Commission, right? That's really important. We started talking about your energy bills. If you're anything like me, I'm sure you've seen your energy bill increase, right? Make sure you guys plug into that. If you want to go to powercoalition.org, you can find all the different information about the PSC race, also your state Senate, also obviously United States Senate election is going on as well. So make sure you guys pay attention down ballot. Obviously, all politics is local, but there are a lot of other things that are happening statewide that also affect you as well. So make sure you guys plug into the work. Thank you to the lovely ladies of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated for leading this tremendous effort. Oh, the amendments, I'm sorry. No, absolutely, thank you. I'm freestyling up here. So we have a number of different amendments. Now, like Delta Sigma Theta, we are also a 501c3 nonprofit, nonpartisan nonprofit. And so while I know I wouldn't tell you exactly who to vote for or what to vote for, right? Make sure you guys pay attention to all the different amendments. Slavery is on the ballot. I know that sounds weird, like, wait, what are you talking about? Slavery's on the ballot? But amendment number 7 is a question that addresses slavery. Make sure you guys check that out, right? There are a whole number of them. I think we have 8 of them, eight different amendments. Again, you can go to powercoalition.org. You can find all the different amendments there. If you guys need any additional information, you can reach out to me directly as well. I'll be over here by the Power Coalition table. I'll give you my number directly. We can actually talk through it. If you guys need somebody to come out and speak to any of your different organizations and or communities, we can also make ourselves a resource for that as well. Thank you guys.
So once again, thank you all. The candidates will be available in a moment as soon as I finish speaking, and there are also refreshments in the back. Please help yourself.